Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another What I'm Reading Right Now video here on the channel. If you've not been here before, this is the series where every week I talk about what I have been reading, what I'm currently reading, and what I'm going to be reading next. It might be a little bit of a short one this week, unless I can stretch it out through chatter and waffle as I usually do, because since the last time we spoke, I only finished 2 books. I know. Unheard of, but unusually not in a reading slump. As you may know if you've been hanging out on Discord, I spent the weekend pretending to be a fairy in the woods. I'll talk more about it in my Patreon newsletter. Don't worry about it too much, but basically had a wonderful time, had such fun, the costume went really well. Yay for that, I guess, but it did mean that I did not get very much reading done towards the end of last week, and there was absolutely no time to read anything the entire weekend. So let's touch on those first 2 books. First. I don't want to say first again now. Initially, I finished Unconquerable Son by Kate Elliott. This is the first book in the Son Chronicles. It is a Alexander the Great retelling kind of inspired space opera. I had a decent time reading this. I didn't love it. I'm beginning to wonder if maybe Kate Elliott's writing is not for me because I didn't love Servant Mage, and this I just found I couldn't really connect in with the characters very much, and I found myself really felt like I was playing catch up the entire book. This is not a bad space opera, not a bad sci-fi, but I think when I read it previously, I was kind of saying, well, I probably didn't enjoy this as much because I don't read as much sci-fi. But that's not really true anymore. I've read a lot more sci-fi and a lot more complicated sci-fi, so maybe I just don't get on with this writing style. We'll find out. I'll touch on that in just a second. Because first, I have to talk about the audiobook that I finished. I literally sat for like 5 hours and finished my audiobook of The Sword of Kaigen by ML Wong. This is... oh, it's so good. I appreciate it's not for everyone. Not everyone I know has loved this. But for me, this book just hits every single emotional button that I have. And I just had the most gloriously sad time reading this. It's such a cathartic book. It's so beautifully written. This is about a group of people who live right on the edge of Kaigen, this empire, and they are the Sword of Kaigen. They hold very traditional values. It's very patriarchal, and they believe themselves to be kind of the big defense of Kaigen, and gradually they realize some of that's propaganda, and a lot of stuff happens in this town, and it's just, I can't explain everything because it would be too sad and also deeply, deeply spoilery, but it is so profoundly wonderfully written that it hits me so hard every single time. I weep every single time. The reason it took me so long to finish this audiobook was because I knew what was coming, and there was like a part of me that was going, no, if I don't read that bit, it just won't happen. And very rarely do books touch me that much emotionally. So yes, to The Sword of Kaigen. We will have a review coming up for it in the near future. I do have 6 more books I want to finish this week. I'm filming this on Wednesday morning. That may not be realistic. I'm going to get as far through as I can. First up, I am a little bit of the way, 29% of the way through The Water Outlaws by S.L. Huang. This is the same person who wrote Burning Roses, which I very much enjoyed. This is a retelling of a story, the name of which I can't remember, but editing Judith's going to put it on the screen for me. And so far, it's very good. I'm enjoying it. I haven't read enough to fully formed opinions or indeed to be able to give you a plot summary, but I am very much enjoying it. That is my review copy for this week. I then have 2 library books on my list, the first of which is still The Sunbearer Trials. I will run out on that loan quite soon, so I should probably get to it. Aidan Thomas, going to read it. And then I have Furious Heaven, which you might be able to see if I hold it at a very specific angle. This is the sequel to Unconquerable Son that came out earlier this year, and this is kind of my test of, am I going to read more Kate Elliott in the future? We'll see how the sequel is, and we'll go from there. I'm slightly nervous. It's very long. And like I said, I've got a lot of books to finish this week. But you know what? I believe in myself, and I'm not doing anything this weekend. After that, I have 3 overbooked rereads I want to get to. The first of which is a hangover from last week, Hench, that supervillain assistant story. Then I have The Light Between Worlds. This is if children came back from Narnia and they didn't really have a good time when they came back, is the best and easiest way to summarise that. And then I have The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, which is of course Frankenstein, but from the perspective of Elizabeth, who's the character in the story, in case you don't know. I love this, I read it most years. Good to do a reread to film that video. Looking ahead into next week, because next week is actually my off week, so you may or may not see a video from me. We missed last off week because I was ill, so It's an actual proper rest week, huzzah. But I will almost certainly be reading more Murderbot because I've got to finish off that series. I'm also finally starting my reread of Rook and Rose, so I will be kicking that off with The Mask of Mirrors. So by the time we're back, I should hopefully have read the first 2 of those. I'm trying to decide whether to do like a reading vlog, but I'm very bad at reading vlogs, so maybe we'll just keep it to check-ins. Because moving on to books that I've added to my TBR, I did add 2 books to my TBR, the first of which is Labyrinth Heart, which is the 3rd Rook and Rose book. I have it in my possession. I could, in theory, see how it ends right now. I'm not going to. I'm going to be sensible. I'm going to do a reread and it's going to be wonderful, but I have it. It's in my possession. And the other digital review copy that came in is Spirits Abroad by Zen Cho. This is a book that originally came out in 2014 and is getting a re-release. I very much enjoyed the other Zen Cho books I've read, and this seemed like a good bet, so I'm going to be reading that as well. The only new release that I have to talk about is the Hassad Air. I'm going to assume it's Hassad. I'm not actually certain. It could be Jassad. I've only seen it written down, so excuse me. This I was thinking about reading. It looks kind of good. I'm not sure about it. It wasn't a high priority for me, so we'll see how I feel about it. Might be a library read, I feel. Maybe. Perhaps. Mayhaps it shall be a library read. So, I have oodles of reading to get done, a lot of editing to do, and quite a lot of other life admin. Basically, the moment I do anything that isn't my set 7-day routine, everything collapses out of the windows. It's going to probably take me about 3 weeks to catch up on all of this, so bear with me while I do that. What have you been reading? What have you been up to? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord where we have chill chats about books. I'd like to say an enormous thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content, live streams, and more. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. There's gonna be some bloopers now. Scrubbing the glasses, because they're grubby. This is the first book in the... something about a Radiant Emperor, maybe? The Sun Chronicles. Radiant Emperor is the other one. Yep, that tracks.